שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני, כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, בסכו מיום ליום ישועתו. שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש, שירו
In this week's Torah portion, Vayera, Abraham challenges God's authority, bargaining with him to save the city of Sodom for the righteous who dwell among them. He speaks up for those who have no voice, certain that even in the darkest of places and the darkest of times, there are still those who cling to the light. As author Naomi H. Rosenblatt explains, Abraham musters all his courage and tact to deliver a challenge to God that reverberates to this day. Shall not the judge of all the earth deal justly? As God proves responsive, he validates the power of one person of integrity to be the conscience of the world. And we learn from their exchange that one of the most solemn privileges of free choice is to question authority and demand justice, no matter what. Once God is questioned, no earthly power will ever again wield absolute authority over the souls of human beings. On this Shabbat, in the wake of Kristallnacht and as we observe Veterans Day, recognizing those who have stood up for justice on these shores and beyond, we affirm our responsibility to speak out and stand up for justice, kindness, and community. Our sixth graders lead our service tonight, modeling what commitment to community is about, and we receive both solace and uplift from being together tonight. And so we begin, drawing light into this sacred space and into our lives, turning to page 3 to kindle our Shabbos light. It's my pleasure to welcome up Gabrielle and Abigail Conley to offer a reading and then to lead us in Kiddush, David Rubenstein.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we be our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Sorry.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu להדליק נר של Shabbat.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
And Kiddush can be found on page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, b'shabbat kodsho, Me'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu b'charta v'yotanu Mikohamim v'shabbat kodshecha v'yama uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai v'kadesh ha-Shabbat l'chaim.
We turn now to page 13 in our prayer books, welcoming Shabbat with song. The bottom paragraph begins, Yismechu Hashemayim, and so do we.
Yismechu Hashemayim, Yismechu Hashemayim, Yismechu Hashemayim, Kadeh haaretz, Yismechu Hashemayim, Yismechu Hashemayim. to page 22, the third line down. It is good to give thanks to God. Tov lehodot Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Le'agil b'boker chastecha, emunatcha b'leilot. Le'agil b'boker chastecha, emunatcha b'leilot. Tov lehodot Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon.
We turn back to page 20 as we make ready to welcome the Sabbath bride, singing Lecha Dodi. We sing verses 1 and 2, 5 and 9, and when we reach verse 9, Bo'iva Shalom, it is our tradition to rise as one congregation, turning to face the entrance of our sanctuary to welcome that Shabbat spirit, that Sabbath bride that is really only felt if we sing together. And so whether you're here with us in the sanctuary, you're joining us on live stream in your own sacred space, know that your voice, your presence, your spirit, they all count. So please, sing with us.
Lecha Dodi, Le'rakala, B'nei Shabbat, Le'kavela. Lecha Dodi, Le'rakala, B'nei Shabbat, Le'kavela. Shamoy v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishmiyanu Elohim echad, Adonai echad, Shemo echad, Hashem tiferach l'tzilah. Lecha Dodi, Le'rakala, B'nei Shabbat, Le'kavela. Lecha Dodi, Le'rakala, B'nei Shabbat, Le'kavela. Likrat Shabbat, lecho v'necha, ki mekor ha'beracha, merosh mikerem nesucha, sof ma'aseh v'machshavot ilah. Lecha Dodi, Le'rakala, B'nei Shabbat, Le'kavela. Lecha Dodi, Le'rakala, B'nei Shabbat, Le'kavela. Hit'oreri, hit'oreri, ki ba'arech kumi uri, uri uri shedaberi, kol Adonai alayich nigdal. Lecha Dodi, Le'rakala, B'nei Shabbat, Le'kavela. Lecha Dodi, Le'rakala, B'nei Shabbat, Le'kavela. Bo'iva Shalom, Ateret Yola, Gam b'simcha u'b'tzola, Toch emunei Yom Segula, Bo'ichala, Bo'ichala. Lecha Dodi, Le'rakala, B'nei Shabbat, Le'kavela. Lecha Dodi, Le'rakala, B'nei Shabbat, Le'kavela.
Turn to those around you, wish them a Shabbat Shalom, let them know you're glad they're here.
You ever stand and play piano?
What?
Like stand and play piano like Will Richie?
Yeah, I should try that. This would be the service.
Exactly.
Yeah. Try it now. Now's the moment.
Especially Katsi Kaddish, like the real classic.
This is your
There you
moment.
go. better get a standing piano.
We turn to page 26 for Chatzi Kaddish as we remain standing through the Shema.
Yitkadav yitkadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'amad yivrach ritei ve'amnich malchutei. V'chayechon uv'yonechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael. Bagala v'vizma'an kariv v'meru. Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olam me'amaya. Yitbarach, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitba'ar v'yitomar v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar, v'yithaleh, v'yithalah Shemei Dekudesha b'reichut leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'meru. Amen. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach
On page 30, we read together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, bechokma poteah she'arim, uvit vuna meshane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Uma'avir yom umevi laila, uma'avdil bein yom uvein laila, Adonai tzavaot shemo. El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. On the bottom of page 33, we read responsively. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol.
All these things your Torah gives to us.
And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives.
What could be a truer token of your abiding love
Then this holiest of your works, and the living language that gives it form. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
You may be seated. Turn to page 36 for the Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta Tam le'od al yadeha, v'hayu l'totafot ben eineha, uftaftam al mezuzot beteha, uvishareha, leman tiskeru, v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'yatem kedoshim Elohehem. Ani Adonai Elohehem, asher hotziti etem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lahem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohehem, emet.
We continue responsively on page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Together at the bottom of page 42. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up our guardian to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Page 44.
rise for the Amidah on page 46. Page 46.
You may be seated.
At the top of page 55, we join together. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, and our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha be'ira na'avod. Page 59 at the top. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. On page 61, we join together in our prayer for peace. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. As it is Veterans Day today, I would like to offer this prayer to all of our veterans. If you are a veteran, I would love for you to please rise. God of compassion, God of dignity and strength, watch over our veterans in recognition of their loyal service to our nation. Bless them with wholeness and love. Shelter them. Heal their wounds. Comfort their hearts. Grant them peace. God of justice and truth, rock of our lives, bless our veterans, these men and women of courage and valor, with a deep and abiding understanding of our profound gratitude. Protect them and their families from loneliness and want. Grant them lives of joy and bounty. May their dedication and honor be remembered as a blessing from generation to generation. Blessed are you, protector and redeemer, our shield and our stronghold. And together we say, Amen. Thank you for your service. We think now of all of those listed on our order of service who are in need of healing, or those that are on your screen. We think of them and add to those names of those people in our hearts who are in need of healing of mind, of body, and of spirit. We take a moment now and we whisper their names out loud. Mishaberach, our prayer for healing, can be found on page 253. Take a moment now for your own silent prayers.
In this week's Torah portion, Vayera, we are introduced to this core idea of hospitality and welcome as Abraham and Sarah open their tent wide to three strangers who appear out of nowhere in the desert. And then, as I mentioned at the beginning of our service, we also see Abraham confronting evil and selfishness and hatred, and yet standing up and speaking out for righteousness in that space as well. We are reminded of how close those lines between graciousness and hospitality and selfishness and even wickedness can sometimes be. Once, there was a kingdom everyone called paradise. It was called paradise not because it was any more beautiful or any richer than any other place, but because of the way the people who lived there cared for one another. In this kingdom, if a friend needed something from a friend, someone always stepped forward to help without even being asked. If a neighbor needed something from a neighbor, someone would respond cheerfully and graciously without ever asking for anything in return. If a stranger needed something, people came forward to help with hospitality, generosity, and kindness. All of this was because of the wise queen. The queen knew that her subjects would treat one another the way she treated them, so she was always careful and attentive and thoughtful. If she couldn't help someone, she would at least listen and express her concern. But at last the queen grew old, and she appointed her daughter, the princess, to rule in her place. And when the queen died, the princess assumed the throne. But the princess was not like her mother, not kind, and she did not treat people the way her mother did. The royal ministers approached the princess and declared, "Your Majesty, we have a terrible problem. There is a famine in a certain corner of our land, and the people are very hungry. We must do something." "But I have plenty of food," responded the princess, biting into a big apple she took out of a bowl of fruit right before her. "If they're starving, I'm sorry, but it's not my problem." "Perhaps your Majesty didn't understand. People are suffering. They don't have food. They will be sad. They will be hungry." "Well, I am sorry, but it's just not my problem." The ministers shook their heads in disbelief and slowly walked away. Just then another group of royal messengers approached the throne. "Your Majesty, we just found out that a river has become poisoned. The people who live along its banks have no water to drink. We must help them." "No water?" asked the princess as she poured herself a long, tall, cold glass of water. "Yes, your Majesty, no water. People are so thirsty." "I have plenty of water. I'm sorry. It's not my problem." No one knew what to do. Every problem they presented to her received the same response. "I'm sorry, but it's not my problem." And before long, everyone in the kingdom was acting like the princess. When anyone needed help or a hand, the one who was asked would look bothered and respond, "You need my help? Well, I'm sorry, but it's not my problem." Soon, the kingdom had changed completely. It was no longer a paradise. It was a wilderness, a wasteland. Soon, no one remembered the way things had been. No one remembered the paradise the kingdom once was. No one but an old fisherman. The fisherman remembered the old queen and the way things used to be. It hurt him that everyone had become as selfish as the young princess. If only he could remind the people and teach them. But what was one old fisherman to do? Then one day he thought of a plan, and he bought tools and paint and materials, and he set to work fixing up his old fishing boat and turning it into the most beautiful yacht in the harbor. As the fisherman worked each day, people came by and asked him, admiring his boat, "Hey, fisherman," they'd say, "when you're done, will you take us for a ride on your yacht?" "Sure," he said. "Everyone's invited." And when the yacht was ready, the fisherman did invite everyone to come for a ride on the lake to celebrate the yacht's first voyage. Everyone came that Sunday morning, even the princess. It was a splendid, clear day. The fisherman guided his yacht out into the lake. He dropped anchor and invited everyone to enjoy themselves. His guests brought out picnic baskets and fishing poles, and everyone had a wonderful day at the lake. Late in the afternoon, his guests asked if they could head home. "Sure," said the fisherman. "There's just one thing I need to do." He opened his toolbox and brought out a large hand drill. He walked into the exact center of the boat, positioned the drill in the hull, and began to drill. "Say, fisherman," people asked, "what are you doing?" "I'm drilling a hole." "But why are you drilling a hole?" "Why? It's a nice day for drilling holes," he responded nonchalantly. "But fisherman, if you drill a hole in the boat, water's gonna rush in, the boat's gonna sink, we're gonna drown," they said. As he continued drilling, the passengers began to cry and beg, "Fisherman, please stop, you must stop." "No, it's my boat, my drill. I'm gonna keep drilling this hole." So soon the princess came over. No lowly fisherman was going to ruin her afternoon. She stood over the fisherman in her royal gown, and a hush came over the frightened crowd. "Fisherman, what are you doing?" she asked in her richest, most royal voice. "I'm drilling a hole," responded the fisherman, moving the drill around and around. "Why are you doing this?" asked the princess. "Because I feel like it," responded the fisherman, without even looking at the princess. "Fisherman, if you make a hole in the boat will sink, and we'll all drown," the princess reasoned aloud. "Uh-huh," acknowledged the fisherman. The princess was getting worried. Her tone changed. "Fisherman, what gives you the right to do this?" The fisherman explained slowly. "It's my boat, it's my drill. I'm going to make a hole. Now, please move aside. You're blocking my lights." The princess began crying and pleading like everyone else. "Please, fisherman, please," she begged. "I don't want to drown. I don't want to get eaten by fish, please." And the fisherman looked at the princess. "You don't want the boat to sink? You don't want to drown?" The fisherman echoed the princess's pleas. Then the fisherman slowly repeated the terrible words that had ruined the kingdom. "Well, I am sorry, but that's not my problem." The princess cried desperately. "What do you mean it's not your problem? Anyone can see that if I have a problem, you have a problem. And if you have a problem, I have a problem. And if anyone has a problem, then everyone has a problem. Because we're all in the same boat." He stopped like a man who had just figured out a great riddle. He repeated the words slowly. "If I have a problem, you have a problem. And if you have a problem, I have a problem. If anyone has a problem, then everyone has a problem. Because we're all in the same boat. Anyone can see that." "Yes," said the fisherman. "Anyone can see that." "Yes," said everyone. "Everyone can see that." The fisherman smiled. "Now we can go home." He pulled the drill up out of the hull, turned the boat around, and sailed safely back to the shore. The people who got off the boat that day were changed. Never, ever again would a friend turn to a friend, or a neighbor turn to a neighbor, or anyone turn to a stranger and say those terrible words. Instead, whenever anyone needed help or hand or some kindness, and whenever anyone came before the princess, he or she would hear, "Please, let me help you. Because if you have a problem, I have a problem. And if I have a problem, you have a problem. And if anyone has a problem, then everyone has a problem." You see, we're all in the same boat. And once again, that kingdom was paradise. And so our portion teaches us that Abraham understood to be open to others, to be welcoming, created paradise. And even when things weren't going wrong, he still searched for a way to make things good for other people, even when things were hard. And that's what we have to do too. Sometimes life feels like paradise, and sometimes it definitely does not. But we're still all in that same boat together, even though we kind of live in a landlocked city. I get it, right? But we can still give each other a hand, help each other out, and know that we're all connected to each other. Shabbat Shalom.
We continue with Aleinu, which can be found on page 283. Please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, אין עוד, אין עוד, אין עוד, אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, היום ההוא יהיה אדוני, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, אין עוד, אין עוד, אין עוד, אין עוד, אין עוד, אין עוד. אין עוד, אין עוד.
You may be seated. This week, we commemorated Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass. As we move into our memorial meditation, we want to note the death of those 91 Jews, the arrest of those 30,000 Jews, and the desecration and destruction of 267 synagogues on November 9th, 1938. To commemorate that night and all of the Jews who died in the Holocaust, we turn to page 292 for our memorial meditation. We have lived in numberless towns and villages, and in too many of them, we have endured cruel suffering. Some we have forgotten, others are sealed in our memory, a wound that does not heal. 100 generations of victims and martyrs, still their blood cries out from the earth. And so many at Dachau, at Buchenwald, at Babi Yar. What can we say? What can we do? How bear the unbearable or accept what life has brought to our people? All who are born must die, but how shall we compare the slow passage of time with the callous slaughter of the innocent cut off before their time? They lived with faith, not all, but many, and surely many died with faith in God, in life, in the goodness that even flames cannot destroy. May we find a way to the strength of that faith, that trust, that sure sense that life and soul endure beyond this body's death. They have left their lives to us. Let a million prayers rise whenever Jews worship. Let a million candles glow against the darkness of these unfinished lives. Our thoughts turn now to those in our community and extended community who have died at this time in years past. As we mark their yahrzeits, we remember them. Louis Alstafo, Nathan Boehm, Ann Bendiner, Sherry Geller-Berman, Elliot Blaine, Bertha Bornstein, Dr. Sheldon Braverman, Joseph Brown, Ralph Carruthers, Betty Clark, Herbert Gordon Davis, Dr. Lloyd Diaz, Helene Fattel, Laura B. Garrison, Sylvia Garza, Ruth Goldsmith, Joe Greens, Dr. Haskell Gruber, James Harris, Mary Hinojosa, Michael Allen Hoffman, Ronald Hurwitz, Freda Stern Jackson, Marshall Selman Jacobson, Malcolm Kasanoff, Karen Kaufman, Doris Kirschberg, Nathan Capel, Faggy Coopersmith, Marvin Coopersmith, Bessie Landau, Annette Lillian, Aaron L. Mintz, David Mossaker, Toby Nathan, Estelle Nordhaus, Milton Petlin, Madeline Goldman Pincus, Charlotte Ponemon, Marion Podorf, Sid Rafkin, Chuck Ramirez, Betty Schleifer, Joseph Setlow, Simon Wallach, Dr. Bernard Wiener, David Westheimer, and Martin Zimmerman. We also think of those who have been laid to rest in the past 30 days, whose families are in a mourning period of Shloshim. We remember Sheldon Arnold Altman, Leonard J. Schwartz, Kathleen Ann Gibson, Edward Hardy, Betsy Merjani, and Zelda Seiden. We also think of one who's been laid to rest this week, whose family is in a mourning period of Shiva. We remember Dr. Leonard Seidner, husband of Phyllis Davis. With all of those which are in our hearts each and every day, we rise together as one community for Kaddish Yatom on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, b'agala u'v'yizman kari v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam ulmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudasha b'richu, Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim alenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, Ya'aseh shalom, alenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, amen. You may be seated. It is my honor to call forward Debbie Roos, President of our Board of Trustees, to deliver tonight's announcements.
I'd like to welcome everyone, and I'm so glad that you could join us in our sanctuary or in your own sacred space. On Wednesday, I attended the Texas Conference for Women. Thousands of women and some very brave men filled the Austin Convention Center. The final speaker was Brene Brown, professor, author, consultant, and podcast host. She is also one of today's greatest thought leaders on people, organizations, and leadership. Her following is as extensive as any international sports figure or pop star. I am a Brene Brown aficionado. Said differently, she's my hero. Brene's research, her storytelling, and her models have saved my professional and perhaps personal sanity. Her work has been my Rosetta Stone for so much of the human behavior I experience daily. But on Wednesday, she was asked a question from the audience that left her stone cold silent for a good 60 seconds. The question, posed after Tuesday's election, seemed painfully unanswerable. After careful consideration and a very deep breath, she said two decisive things. Use your voice, speak out. Her vulnerability, coupled with her courageous leadership, reinforced my own resolve on difficult topics while reminding me why this woman had reached her hero status in my book. She inspires me to use my gifts to their fullest. Heroes, not all of them are celebrities. Frankly, most of them are not. They sit here among us. They are, as singer-songwriter Debbie Friedman said, just people that we call another name. It's the faithful daughter who visits the aged father in the retirement community, ensuring his days are full of love and care. It's the twinkly-eyed man who meets the buses and the airplanes full of terrified immigrants, welcoming strangers to our land. For we were once strangers in a land. It's the retired teacher who enthusiastically said yes to co-chairing a committee that's way bigger than anything she's ever tackled before. It's the poll worker who, despite the risks and his family's concern, proudly helped protect our democracy by ensuring the vote. It's the kid who saves the seat in class for their friend so they both know they fit in, they belong, they are enough. Heroes are just people that we call another name, and these people are here under this dome. Heroes exist at Temple Beth-El. It's just one of the countless reasons that this place is special. I cannot express the overwhelming sense of awe I have for the heroes of our community. While I may have traveled to Austin to see my celebrity hero, The epicenter of the greatest heroes is literally in my own backyard. I invite you to look around for a minute. We are sitting among greatness. We are Temple Beth-El, home to heroes. I'd like to thank all who participated in our service tonight, and all the names are listed in our order of service. Here are some of the events coming up at Temple. As a reminder to our 6th grade families, please head to the Dreben Family Pavilion for a reception in your honor immediately following services. And you guys were phenomenal. On Sunday, November 13th from 9:30 to 11, please join us for the 2nd Sunday Scholars Series with Rachel Stern. This will be part 1 of a 2-part series where the topic is, what is real Judaism and who gets to decide? Here's a little teaser. With internet ordination and a proliferation of new and not so new sects, how do we sects, S-E-C-T-S, just for all clarification, thank you. How do we navigate the ever-growing landscape of Jewish choices? How do we decide what organizations, movements, and institutions are valid and which are not? Please RSVP to Sarah. On Wednesday, November 16th at 6 p.m., Sisterhood is hosting their Crafty Women Wine and Charcuterie event. Join these amazing women and create a usable piece of resin art, drink some wine, eat some snacks, and enjoy some really nice people. Prices start at $36. We would like to thank all of our veterans for your service. Thank you for your time, your bravery, your sacrifice for this country. We are forever grateful for what you have done to maintain America's freedom. Happy Veterans Day. Finally, we would like to wish Canna Berlin well as she embarks on a 6-week sabbatical. We hope you find this time to be filled with rest, study, laughter, and play, and we look forward to your return. Safe travels. Everything going on at Temple is listed on our website calendar and in our weekly email, which arrives in your inbox around 4 p.m. on Thursday. Shabbat Shalom.
Our closing song is...
And before our closing song, I just want to make sure to thank our wonderful musicians for adding so much joy to our worship. Thank you for being with us. And our closing song is Oseh Shalom, page
62.
62.
Please rise. Before we leave, we just wanted to give a special welcome to Bridget Laughlin, Director of Lifespan Religious Education from First Unitarian Universalist Church of San Antonio, her students, and all parents. And Arlene Dreyer, thank you for being their wonderful docents. Shabbat Shalom.